what's on the other side. Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. Rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it. The rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers and me. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. Y'all, Jerry's here. Everybody's here. It's good to see y'all. Ken's here. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you. And look at that. Zingari Man is here, y'all. Welcome to our conversation series. The Barbershop Duet, in all of our newbie glory, has reached out to a few wonderful people in the community and a few of the artisans themselves, and they have agreed to join us here on Instagram, where we do our Iffy Soap live series for those soaps that are a little bit more on the baseball side of things. And tonight is our first foray into inviting an artisan on to have a conversation and talk about all things shaving. We have watched a few of the previous interviews that Miss Melton has done on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and things, so that we have our foundations in line. And hopefully we have a few new questions for y'all and for Heather. Thank you so much for being our first artisan in our conversation series.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm totally excited for it. And I was like, I've actually been making jelly for like the past 6 hours, and I was like, holy crap, I gotta get ready. So my face is all like red from cooking and stuff. So ignore that.
Right? No, you look great.
Are you listening to all the canning jars pop on the counter?
I don't know if it's like I'm hot, like my face is red from like the heat of like cooking, or if it's from like the habanero pepper like steam in my face all day.
Oh, it's fabulous. So y'all, just to give you a look into how we discovered Heather as people who unashamedly started a YouTube show with absolutely zero experience so that you could all be a part of our journey. Zingari Man was one of the absolute first to catch our eye and did so in a remarkable fashion. As a red-blooded American male, I have a soft spot for barbershops, y'all. And this was our very first Zingari Man. If you go watch the episode, this blew my skirt so far over my head, I could barely handle it. So I'm so excited to have you, and I think it may be a good place to start.
Right.
Is Zingari means gypsy or traveler, and we know that you have said that travel for the grown-up is the best form of education that you can experience. Can you tell us a little bit, because y'all, we kind of wanted to get to know Heather, because in getting to know Heather a little bit, I think we're going to get to know the soaps a little bit. So Heather, can you tell us about a few of the places that you've traveled that you love the best, or where you learned the most?
Well, I would literally like just live to travel if I could afford to. So I've always lived in Indiana. I've never moved away from home. But my husband and I do love to travel. And outside of the U.S., we've been to several places in Europe, Italy, France, Holland, Germany, Austria, Switzerland. We've been to Qatar. We've been to Thailand. And then like a lot of the Caribbean islands, Jamaica, the Dominican, the Bahamas, Mexico, of course. And then we're actually trying to like maybe do a little bit more in the U.S. in the next few years.
But what have you learned? Garrison Keillor has a wonderful quote. He said, if you ever want to get rid of your narcissism, travel somewhere where they don't know you and they don't want to. And I've always thought that was a great quote. So of all those amazing places that you got to travel, what did you learn the most?
I think that regardless of where you are, where you're from, what your culture, religion, your household, like whatever your differences are, people are much more alike than we're not. So I do think that, you know, it doesn't matter if you're from Indiana or you're from Qatar. Like, everybody appreciates being able to sit down and eat dinner with their family. Everybody wants their kids to be safe. Everybody, you know what I mean? Like, so we have much more in common than we have differences. And I wish that people would focus more on that instead of the differences, because that I feel like is where like that's what divides us, is like that, instead of just appreciating, you don't have to agree with it, but I do think that traveling makes you appreciate and understand like where some of those differences come from and why they are.
Right.
And I wish that more people would see that instead of the actual differences that we have, learn to appreciate what we have in common and why things are a little bit different there than, maybe what you do.
Right. Have any of your travels inspired any of your soaps?
A little bit. I will say, like, if you've smelt a mirror, that one was definitely highly inspired by our time in Qatar last year. And we have some tropical fruit note scents coming out that were definitely inspired between like our trip to Hawaii and even in Thailand. So a little bit, I'm hoping to kind of bring that around a little bit more full circle. But yeah, somewhat.
Cool.
Awesome.
So speaking of the kitchen, since clearly you enjoy spending time there almost as much as you do in lab and other things, are there certain recipes that are your favorite to make? Or like, how did you get those?
What are your favorite recipes to cook?
Gosh, I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place. I like cooking. I like baking. I don't know. Jelly has become a little bit of a new obsession, mostly because the first few times I tried it, it didn't work very well. And I was like, you will not beat me.
Right.
So,
Nice.
Yeah. I do love doing marshmallows, though. Marshmallows is something that I really enjoy making. They're just so fun.
I don't know why I just thought there was a marshmallow tree somewhere. I guess you have to make the marshmallows. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Homemade marshmallows are nothing like store-bought marshmallows. Let me tell you, it is like a whole new world when you get like homemade marshmallows.
Right. Oh, Sloppy's here. I see he submitted 9 questions about your brush cleaner. We'll get to those way later if we have time. So let's see. Let's see. Oh, okay. So here's the good. Now, as our first artisan, I'm going to throw a couple of general questions at you that we've had. But scents are a mysterious world. And in the last couple of years online, we have had our sense of sight challenged. Do you remember the blue gold dress thing?
Oh, yeah.
Where half of us thought it was a blue dress, half thought it was gold. And then there was the Laurel Yanny thing for our ear. If your ear picked up on the background noise or the voice, you heard either the word Laurel or you heard the word Yanny. And it was like super clear, one or the other.
I didn't hear that.
And they were very different voices. In fact, you can Google that and go listen for yourselves. It's quite a weird phenomenon. So we have discovered that something similar like that happens with fragrances as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That sometimes you need context. Now we're just discovering this,
right?
Because as newbies, everything smells gourmand at first. Those
it's all pretty, and
those kind of things. But as we get into it, I'm realizing how important context can often be in how you discover the scents in the shave soaps. And so, do you ever experience that as well, where you'll smell very different things, or different people will smell very different things, but you almost need to come to a common context to understand the scent?
Yeah, so fragrance obviously is very individualized, and I've learned that like I have to take my testers' feedback like in stride and kind of go with like the majority versus like everything, because you're never going to make everyone happy with one single fragrance. It's just not going to happen. But one thing that is really funny to me is one person will say, oh my god, that is like the weakest scent, like I can't smell anything in it, and the next person is like, holy hell, that is so strong, how are you not smelling anything?
Right.
Yeah. So also musk is a big like component of that. Like the musk molecules, some of them are super large and it can make you amnesic to them, so you don't actually detect them, but some people can. So sometimes people will be like, oh my god, that's a musk bomb, and everybody's like, I don't smell anything. And that's because they actually pick up different components of the musk. So musk is definitely one of the biggest. But yeah, I guess it's kind of like cilantro and tasting soap. Everybody has a little bit of something that picks up a little different. So
well, It is funny that you said that, because there have been a couple of soaps where when I first smell it, I think the intensity is like a very low 1, but over time, my nose learns how to find those scent notes. So now when I pick up that soap, it's right in the middle for me.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I'll look back at the footage that we shot on the show, and I'm very clearly, trying really hard to get my sense of it. But now I get it completely.
Yeah.
It's almost like woken up a part of my brain that is able to smell those notes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think sometimes, like, especially if you're new to fragrance, or like, I was not a big fragrance person previously. Like, I enjoyed perfume, but I wasn't able to like pick out notes or anything and be like, I like it or I don't. Easy enough, and I think the more you're exposed to it, especially like for you guys, like you're trying to give like feedback, so you're paying more attention and you're trying to be able to like put a name to what you're smelling. So I feel like the more you learn that, you definitely start noticing it more. But I think it is something that definitely improves with practice, so to speak. Just starting to like tie them in together, like, oh, okay, I remember that one had that note of this in it, and this one is supposed to too, and I think I'm kind of picking up something similar. So I think practicing a little bit kind of helps like pick that up, just with kind of learning it. So
and we had that same phenomenon too. Like, we were trying to guess some of our soaps. Like, if we didn't read the label, if we didn't look anything, I'm like, okay, close your eyes, take a whiff. And
blind to smell your soaps, everyone. It's a whole new world.
Yes,
it is completely, because especially for your products, we are always so impressed with the labels and the written descriptions and stuff, but that also tends to kind of lead you to knowing where the scent's going to take you versus smelling something blind. I'm like, wow, I didn't even pick up on some of those things. I think my mind was sort of pushed to smell, if that makes sense.
Right, which leads us to your next question about the power of suggestion.
Right. So do you have that in mind when you're trying to sit down and figure out, like, what do you want the blurb to say, or the picture, or to name it?
Because I'm weird, Heather. Before I play somebody a song, I will tell them why it was written, when it was written, who it was written for, what kind of piano it was written on, just to kind of give them that whole. And I feel like I love the shaving world because between the labels and especially, I'm going to use a superlative here, the best sales pages in the business because of how I read them on the show. They're incredible. They are incredible.
Thank you.
So in all of that, just to sort of accidentally steal her question, talk to us about how the power of suggestion is such a major part of the shaving soap.
I guess it's not necessarily an intentional thing. I was very adamant whenever I first started that I wanted my brand to be recognizable as my brand. So like, if you see Old Spice sitting on the shelf in Walmart, it's Old Spice without even like reading it. Like, you have that brand recognition. And there are some brands in shaving that's the same way, like Sterling, like those like iconic green tubs and the labels, there's that consistency. And I did that for a long time. And when I first launched my Sago base, I needed a way to differentiate like the tallow from the vegan. And so I started doing, because everybody loves the labels. So I did I think my first big one that was truly like the write-up, the label, the scent was the Watchman. And I was like, holy shit, this project, everything is perfect for this project. I felt like everything just went right in for that. And ever since then, we've kind of been doing that. I'm trying now to kind of go back to a little bit more of the brand recognition and like consistency. So it's changing some, but it is nice to be able to really tie in like the whole story and like the visual. So like you held up the merchant, like that visual is supposed to give you like, even if you've not been to like Morocco or somewhere that has like, an open air market, you kind of get an idea of like what to expect. Like we've all seen it. We've all seen photos and movies. And so you kind of get an idea of what to expect. So that is like one of the nice parts about it, is at least, there's a little bit of something that it's leaning towards. So if people are looking at the notes going, I don't know what any of this smells like, but then they think, oh, it's supposed to smell like this, then maybe that kind of helps tie it in together a little bit better.
Yeah. Just to be clear, we absolutely love it. We love that it's not just like, here's the soap. What do you think? That it's like, wait, there's a label, there's there's a story, there's like there, you know, all of these things that go along with it that help guide us into what your vision was, because of course it's our nose and we're going to take it where we want. I love with a lot of the artisans, and with Zingari Men especially, that you give us a complete picture of what your artistic choices were in this soap and where it took you, and inviting us to go along there with you, and then to discover things. Because sometimes I feel a little bit too lost. Sometimes like, wow, I wish I knew, especially sales pages that only give you set notes. It's like, wow, I wish I knew what this artisan was thinking about when they made this. So I love that yours just takes us all the way to those beautiful places and really explores why you chose it and how you chose it and how you crafted it.
I so think that when we got us into it was like some of the soaps were really easy to find, and we had to figure out like, okay, is this our vibe? Is it not?
Because with this, I just wanted to, by the time I opened this, I was excited to meet this guy. Like I was excited to have the scent experience of being in his barbershop and meeting him. Like that's, and so it just woke up my imagination. So just, I love that you do that. Is there a story that's your favorite? Maybe not the soap. I won't nail you down to that. But is there a story on your sales pages that's your favorite?
Well, I can actually tell you my favorite scents as well. So in my actual, not my collabs, but like in my actual fragrances, Watchman has been my #1 scent, my personal favorite since I launched it. Everything about it was exactly what I wanted scent wise. And I'm very happy with how the whole project turned out, but the scent itself, like it's so unique, it's so different, that I wanted that stormy, aquatic, and Sean, the perfumer for that, like just totally nailed it for me. So Watchman has been my favorite, but I'm gonna admit, like Amir is definitely a close second, but now that I have the Brewer coming, the Brewer, like those are my top 3. The Brewer is going, it's really, the more I smell it even, I get more and more like addicted to it almost. It's very different than anything else I've done. So I think maybe that's also another like component of it. But as far as the story goes, honestly, probably the Watchman. The Watchman, like, I just feel like that whole project, the write-up, the scent, the label, everything went together so well. And the write-up is really well done. That I didn't do it. I can't take any credit for that because I'm a horrible writer. But I gave, like, the direction of kind of, like, what I was wanting, and they had the label to look at and stuff like that. And so I feel like the Watchman is probably one of my favorite write-ups. So... it's kind of long. Some of them are kind of long, and I know not everybody reads them. That's okay, guys. But for those who like to read,
for those of us who do like to read.
Exactly.
They don't have to read it. It's fine.
Can you walk us through the process? I know they're all going to be a little different, but can you walk us through the process of discovering a new scent and creating a new scent?
Like, does the idea come to you first, or do you have a scent that you find? Like, do you have a system, or do they just find you differently?
No.
You know, every
because when they asked who was it? When they asked Stephen King, like, where does he get his ideas? He turned to Amy Tan and said, they don't believe us when we say out of the clear blue sky. We don't know where we get our ideas from. So do you know where you get your inspirations from?
It does vary. So I have something in the works now. I was hoping to actually release it this past winter, but it's not going to release probably until this winter. And I have a very specific, like I already have like the scent, like my idea of what the scent should be. And I know exactly what the label is going to be. And we're on like version 6 with the perfumer. And I'm like, nope, this isn't it. Like it's not what I want. And so sometimes I do get very specific and I'm like, I don't take anything else. I'm like, nope, that's not it. Nope, go back to the drawing board. But sometimes like I shouldn't say find something, but sometimes like even whenever I was doing the perfuming myself, like sometimes I would just be playing and all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, this smells great. Like, and then I have to sit down and I'm like, try to make a story to go with it,
Right. Okay.
Right. So yeah, it kind of does go a little bit both ways. It just kind of depends, but most of the time, I have a story that I want to tell and I need the scent to go with it. Occasionally it works backwards.
Right. Yeah, but we've had that same thing, like even for me choreographing for Dance Wise or for Marcus writing a song or play or something, like sometimes it's different inspirations that strikes you or you have like a theme you want to go with or something. So it's just curious, like, I know each artisan is a little different, so it's kind of cool to know, like, some are the same system, some just find you know.
But mentioning that, I can smell the eureka moment in this. You know what I mean?
It clicks, it's there. You know?
Like, whoa, that's so cool.
And
because, like, if it were off balance one way or the other, a tiny bit, it wouldn't be this.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. He totally nailed that scent so well. And it's so unique, I feel like, than anything else that's out here. Like, and I've had that scent. I've had Watchman for, I think, 3 years now, and it's consistently been my #1 seller since then. Like, so that tells you, like, it's definitely, like, unique, and not something that you can find, you know, where, you know, unfortunately there's some things out there that, like, you can find, you know, 20 versions of the same thing. So I do like that one kind of stands out on its own and, you know, is a little bit different.
Wow. Yeah. Philip Sharp has a quick question from Oklahoma. Philip says, Heather, if I shave with the brewer and I get pulled over and put in jail, are you going to get it? It's that real?
No, you have to have, you're at your own risk there.
Okay. I think there might be a disclaimer on the label, Philip, upside down.
Yeah, I'll have to add that to the website. Note to self.
And then one from Carlos. Shave on Gents. What do we got?
Heather, who is your best friend and why is it Carlos?
It's Carlos!
Because
Carlos is my bestie. Like, I love Carlos so much.
Carlos.
Yeah, I love Carlos.
Carlos has had a great time hanging out with Heather at her house.
Yeah. Carlos, I was, like, so excited because I'm like, hey, like, I can cook for you because my husband is like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, he's, you know, almost 30 years in. Almost 30 years in together, and he's kind of like, okay, thanks. But, like, I was so, I always get excited. Like, my first passion was actually cooking, and I wanted to be a chef. And so I love cooking, especially, like, it's kind of like, and I'm sure you have this in your industry as well, but, you know, like, the thing that is so great about being a chef or cooking is, like, when you make something that's someone loves so much, and that first bite, they're like,
yeah,
like, that is what I live for. I live for that. Yeah. So I was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to cook him? What am I going to cook him?
Let's see, more questions here.
Oh, Carla says, I'm bringing maple cream Oreos for Mike.
Oh,
there you go, Mike.
Okay.
Carlos,
we don't have those here. I don't think I've ever. That definitely has to be a Canada thing because I've not seen those. My husband loves Oreos.
We're not sure what Sloppy Badger means by this question. Should we read it anyway?
When are the clips coming out, girl?
When
is that
the clambers?
Is that a joke? That only he gets.
What? The clay bars?
He wants to know when the clambers are coming out.
The clabbers. The clay. Is he talking about the clay bar? The clay bar?
Oh, probably. He probably spelled it wrong.
Oh, that's funny.
We know he loves those.
That makes way more sense.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. So the clay bar will
while we're
launch
here,
this
tell us
coming
about
weekend.
your brand new mystery boxes.
Clay bars. He was
Yes.
translating.
Yeah. So the mystery box is new. This is kind of a little bit of an experiment to see how it goes. So we'll see. I'm really excited to get feedback off of the first one to see, like, if I can make changes, you know, moving forward. But I've mentioned on live several times, I'll be like, somebody will say something, they'll ask me, like, hey, what hair products do you use? Like, your curls look great or something like that. Right. And I'm like, well, I make my conditioner. Like, I've made my own conditioner for, like, ever now for like 7 years. And somebody's like, why don't you sell it? We need that. And so it kind of turned into, like, that kind of started giving me the idea. Like, I was hearing that more and more if I mentioned something. And because I make so many things for myself or things that I used to make, and maybe, like, when I rebranded, like, got rid of or whatever. And so this is a great way for me to be able to, like, do, like, exclusives or, like, access to, like, maybe early access to, like, something, you know, new that's coming out. But the goal is for the majority of it to be exclusive. to the box.
Nice.
So, so it's not like I'm just grabbing stuff off of my shelf that's not selling, and I'm like, hey, you're getting something for 50% off, and it's a surprise, you get what you get. Like, it's nothing like that. It's actually going to be all exclusive or early release. I will say this, this is something that's going to be, I'll give a little bit of a hint. So this is actually in the first box. I won't say what the scent is, but I did show these. So these are what my solid extracts were initially going to be in. So these are really heavy. Like they're heavy. Like they're brick heavy.
Heavy,
And so these are solid extracts. And this is in the first box. These are 100% going to be exclusive to the mystery boxes. So if you want one of these nice little containers, yep, but I'm not going to tell you what scent it is.
No, keep thinking there, people.
And they're live now on your page.
They can go get them now, right?
They are, yes. And this first box, I limited a little bit because I knew that I would want to kind of get feedback. And also when it's something new like that, I feel like people kind of want to see what it's about before they get one. You know what I mean? Like they want to see someone else what they got and then be like, oh, okay, maybe, yeah. So the first one, I was like, okay, we'll do a little light release kind of thing. So we'll see how they go. But yeah, it's something fun.
Have a whole new product line. You can almost use this as a way to kind of get feedback and stuff, which is cool. That like you're making it for that quantity versus throwing it out there to the whole world. So that is kind of like a cool way to ease new things out there too.
Right.
Yep.
It is a very cool segue too, gents. I know I was listening to somebody on the interview that was like, I'm a guy, so I don't pay attention to the skincare products. But I'm like, yeah, but wait a minute. You got 200 soaps.
Right.
It's not a far leap. So it's so funny in this world whenever because I did start out with like, the clay bar. I don't need that. And then I'm in the shower and I'll just grab it, try it. I can't live without it now.
I get it.
So I love how just the shaving soaps alone became this like door opener for me to all these really cool other products that are out there. Like what would be your most segued product if there's a new shaver and they've discovered the soaps and things, maybe even a splash, but they want to go another step? What would you suggest?
It kind of just depends on like their skin type and like needs, but I do find you are correct. I do find that people, wet shavers specifically, like they're like, oh my God, like the soap makes such a big difference. Like this whole routine has made such a big difference in my skin. So then they're more willing, because I'm not going to stereotype. I don't want to stereotype, guys, but I'm going to use my husband as an example, okay? Because he is like, he is like every man. He is like, a general man.
Mike is going under the bus, folks.
Yes. Yeah. So my husband, he's actually not, like he does wet shave, but he hates it. Like he hates shaving. He hates everything about shaving. He can't smell, so he doesn't even enjoy the scents. Like he just is like, what do you want me to use so I can use it up for you? Like just give it to me so I can get it done. So he is like that when it comes to like skincare, he doesn't want to do anything new.
Being married to Willy Wonka.
It's so embarrassing. Like he does use soap and a brush, but he does not use like even a safety razor. Like he uses a disposable razor.
Oh, say that out loud. He's gonna get hate mail.
Yeah. So, but he can't. Send
your comments to support at zingariman.com.
Yeah, there you go.
I have a question at Zingari Man. That is the email to use, not mine. That's customer support email. Thank you. So yeah, I do feel like once people, especially newer ones, once they start seeing like the improvement in their skin, I feel like they are definitely much more open to saying, holy crap, if this made a difference, what will this do?
Right.
So, moisturizers are always a great place to start. The face washes are always a great place to start. So it kind of just depends on their needs. Like I have the hydration and rescue potion, and I tried to make them to where you can adjust for your needs, especially seasonal. Because I know you guys are in California, so you probably got beautiful weather all the time. Blah, blah, blah. You don't have this cold, dry air that like half of their...
Yeah, we're broke, but we're tanned.
Exactly. Exactly. But, you know, like skin, whenever we have like, you know, in the areas that do have seasonal changes and you start getting these hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold days before it's all cold or all hot, like our skin is like, what the hell are you doing? I don't know what to do. And so I try to make a couple of products where you can kind of tailor them to what you need right then. So the hydration and rescue potion are also like a great boost if you already have a routine, or if you're just wanting to maybe add a little bit more like moisturizing, like to maybe your aftershave or something like that. They're very easy to just kind of alter. So those are usually, depending on your skin type and stuff like that, those are usually my first two recommendations.
Oh, cool. Cool. Okay. So we had, speaking of some of the scents and stuff, so obviously you're one of more of the female artisan, but in a man world of all the shave soap side. Does that, you find that nowadays, like, there are more scents that are considered unisex? Because as we've been going through, there's been a lot more, at least some of like the Tom Ford homages,
like the last 15 years seems to have a lot more unisex stuff.
Right. So like, does that come into consideration when you're picking a scent? Because some of yours are more a place to go.
Yeah,
like, I wasn't
or
sure
is there even a male and female scent profile anymore?
Right. Is that something that you consider when you're coming up with stuff, or it just
is there such a thing now as a masculine or a feminine sense nowadays?
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna say yes and no. So in the US is always behind the curve, like from like say Europe in anything like fashion, cosmetics, whatever it may be.
Right.
And so like Europe, it's always really interesting to see where someone is located and what scents sell more in that area. So like I have a huge following customer base in like Italy, and the scents that they prefer are not necessarily what is the most popular in the US and vice versa. So they are much more open to like florals. They do tend to like a lot more citrus. So I feel like men in the U.S., a lot of men, I'm not trying to clump everybody together because I know everybody's different, but I do feel like, I feel like a lot of men in the U.S. are kind of like florals are for women. You know what I mean? Like they're like...
I started off this show with that idea in mind, that it was more floral, a bit more for her, but the more I opened, the more I was like, wow. So now we kind of have identified there are more masculine florals that are out there.
Definitely. So yes and no. I don't really, like, because most of my customer base is obviously men, the majority of it. I don't know. I'd have to look at the current statistics. It's probably like 95% or whatever still. So I do have some florals, but those are, I try not to do anything super like what I would consider feminine leaning. I definitely have some that are unisex and they kind of toe the line maybe a little bit. And, you know, so it is what it is. Like people are going to love it or hate it. And there's some people there are a lot of men that love florals that I've learned.
Some in the comments.
Yeah, it just kind of depends, like, I think on how it's used versus, like, and, you know, there's a difference in florals that are, like, floral and green or herbal versus, like, sweet, like floral and sweet. So I think when you start getting back into the sweetness, I think that's when a lot of men are like, I'm out. Like, I think that kind of is a little bit more of the breaking point. So it kind of depends on how you use it. Although I did just send out a bunch of testers for a scent that is almost all like honeysuckle, and everybody loved it. So there's going to be a honeysuckle scent coming out. Yeah, it's going to be called the Dorothy Jean. It's after my grandma. It's going to be a Mother's Day release. It's actually going to be a Mother's Day release. So
that's awesome.
Wow. Cool. Okay, we have a couple of questions that are a little bit off the record, kind of a thing. Of just,
do I need more wine?
We're just curious.
Not yet. I don't think. I think it should be okay.
We're just curious. But why do you think so many of the male soap artisans are sporting a full beard?
Oh. Man, and don't even get me started on like the brush makers. Like, I don't know if there's a brush maker that has a clean shaven face. Like all of the brush makers have a beard. I don't know. But you know, I will say my husband,
Douglas, Matt Bizarre, they've all got full on beards going on. Like, gentlemen.
So you see
I'm just curious. The other one I was curious about. I'm gonna skip this ahead to this one. Here's a question no one's ever asked in 8 months of our show, and I guess it borders on the taboo.
But you kind of hinted at this, so I think it's a good question.
She did hint at this.
Yeah, oddly fitting.
Can you use Artisan shaving soap with a cartridge razor?
We would never think to try it, but it won't clog it, or will it still work just fine?
Does it work?
Yeah. I mean, this is literally on my husband's use for like 6 years.
Right.
Yes.
Right, I'm always like trying to sell the razor first, but maybe I should be trying to sell the soap
if it
first.
Works fine.
100%. And that's what I tell everybody that's new. Like even like my girlfriends and family members and stuff, that I'm trying to get to like try it because look, women are busy. We got shit to do.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter like if it's, just work or kids or all of it. Like I feel like women, we tend to not. Yes, love it.
They're talking about these in the comments.
What's funny is like I would say that the Barrel Proof is a fairly masculine scent, but all of my assistants, it's been one of their favorites. Like, and they're all female. So that actually has a lot of, and Bilu's wife, if Bilu's in the comments, Bilu's wife is also a big fan of it. So it is funny. Like I feel like that one is more of a masculine scent, but definitely there's a ton of women who love it. So, so all of my, like, especially when it comes to like women, we're busy, we got shit to do. And I have the personality that's like, if I feel like I have to do it in the shower, then I feel like I have to do it. But when I get out of the shower, game over. I ain't got time for it. Like I got things to do. And so I feel like that is like the first step. If you can get somebody to try, like, even if it's just a cheap brush, like a brush in a decent shave soap, and they can just feel the difference even with a cartridge. And then you could be like, oh, you know what? But you can also step it up more than.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gotcha.
All right. Here's the good one for you.
So, if you had a brand newbie, speaking of this conversation, is there a certain one from your lineup that you would try and throw their way that's like more crowd pleasing or enticing or like?
And then, do you have one that you would suggest for the more seasoned shaver?
Like if your current lineup, if you were just going to throw one out.
So if you had an oldie and a newbie in front of you, from
as far as fragrance,
yes,
or just any product.
Fragrance.
Soap, let's say.
So typically, especially if someone is buying for, like, say, a present, like, and they don't know what their scent preferences are. So typically my two recommendations are the traditionalists, because let's face it, who doesn't like sandalwood? Everybody likes sandalwood. It's something everybody's familiar with. That's literally why it's called the traditionalist, is everybody knows what sandalwood is, right?
Good to know.
Like that's literally why it's just the traditionalist. Sandalwood is so common and so just old school. Everybody knows it. So the traditionalist, and it's in the vegan base too. So if they, prefer vegan, then that's a great option. And I feel like, the Explorer is also a really good kind of crowd pleasing scent, especially if it's something that you don't know who you're buying, versus where you can get a polarizing scent, like a mirror, probably, unless you know somebody's scent preference. Like a mirror is amazing, but it is rose and oud, and those notes aren't for everybody. Right. So it's it kind of, if they don't know anything about the person as far as scent, performance and stuff like that, those are kind of my two go-tos, so to speak, that aren't really polarizing, I feel like.
Right. And then if Sloppy called you and he hadn't ever purchased a Zingari Man soap before, and he says, I got 200 soaps, what would I like? What would you give the seasoned shaver? Like
a signature scent that you're known for, or something.
Something that would maybe be appreciated a little bit more by a more seasoned nose.
Yeah, so Watchman definitely is always a number one. And I would say the Highlander. Highlander is an amazing scent. And I feel like it's a really good, it's an amazing, like fougere, but I feel like it's definitely not a super polarizing, even though it's like a sophisticated like fougere.
Right.
I don't feel like it's polarizing. So I feel like maybe those would probably be my first two options.
Sweet.
My first two suggestions.
We've sent a Watchman to a few newbie to people, and like just getting the sense like that they've never done shave soap before, and that one did seem to be like just the fun, different mix of an aquatic that had them being like, okay, this is different than just a normal soap, you know?
Yeah, especially like even if they are used to like maybe perfume, like sometimes like aquatics, like in the perfume world, aren't really called aquatics; they're called like blues or something like that. And so I feel like a lot of those are a little bit more typically crowd pleasing, but they can be really light. So it kind of just depends too.
Right.
Yeah. And then we were trying to debate the...
Yeah, this is an interesting question. I used to get confused by this back in my chemistry classes. And there's a little bit of confusion now because, for example, when you see a small tub of a tallow soap and a big tub of a vegan soap, you will look at the amounts of them and it will look like you're getting a lot of one and not a lot of the other. But hold on. Are shaving soaps packaged by volume or weight?
Because like
weight. So yeah. So anything. So per the regulations and weights and measures FDA. So anything that is a liquid is volume. Anything that is solid or semi-solid, that could even be like a gel type thing, that should be by weight. So that is like the restriction that like the government gives us. So you shouldn't see any soaps, shave soaps that are being sold by volume. They should all be by weight. Whereas
aloe is heavier as an ingredient, right?
Like compared to like the vegan stuff.
Yeah, I guess my question is, I've noticed that I have some like small tallow soaps that weigh as much as a big vegan soap.
Well, I mean, like well, that's gonna go back to like the densities, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
I don't know.
Which is why the line is a little bit blurred, I guess. It's just a little bit sometimes confusing when you're so. And maybe we shouldn't even have that conversation about weight because it's different amounts, really.
Or depending on the base, like I don't know if that's even part of it too.
Yeah, I mean, like if the total, like if the overall density, like say the specific gravity. So if the specific gravity is really high on something, then it's going to look like you have less volume. And I had this whole conversation with my husband last year trying to explain it to him, and I'm not very good at explaining it, evidently, because he was like, just stop, just stop. I don't know what you're talking about. Just stop. So yes, I even was like holding up a jug of like a full oil that weighed, 7 pounds and another one that weighed 7 pounds. And you could see the difference. And I'm like, this is the difference. This is the density. This is the specific gravity. And he was like, I don't understand.
I guess that's just our TED Talk, is they're all going to weigh the same, but you might get slightly different amounts by volume.
Yeah, and also sometimes, like, I mean, I can't think of, I'm not sure, like, off the top of my head, but there could also be, like, companies who even, like, whip it a little bit. So, like, they'll aerate it some or something like that. So it'll look like it's, like, if you,
like that
have ever used...
when you got giant, but it was, like, 3 ounces.
Right,
so it's like a whipped soap. Right?
Yes. Yeah. So, like, if you've ever had, like, a whipped soap, like an actual whipped soap, or, like, a whipped body butter, they may weigh 2 ounces, but they're in, like, a giant jar because they have all the air, like, added into it.
So you're not really getting more. It's just a whipped soap. Yeah. All right. Hey, y'all, we've got some time left. Submit your questions for Heather and for Zingari Man, and I'm sure maybe Mike is within earshot. Okay, what it do? Heather, would it be okay? Doo-doo. Oh, it's a different do. Oh, this is Doo-Doo, 1980. Okay, this is
that's Dewey.
This is Dewey. Okay, Heather, would it be okay for John Carlos and I to do a demo of the brush cleaner at Maggart's?
As long as you're not going to shave with it.
Or don't put it on your hands either. It'll dry out.
No, yes. It's meant to clean.
Jackie Lou 75 says, Heather, you said you have some tropical scents in the works. Could you elaborate? We will not get mad at you if you cannot elaborate. Can you elaborate?
Yeah. So the Brewer and the Magician are releasing next weekend at the meets. Are you guys going to the meets?
Oh, fun.
No, we're stuck in California for now.
Hopefully the next one.
Next year.
We have to wait for the dog to die.
Or she's going to have to come with us.
She's fine. Don't worry. She's fine.
She's just deaf, but she's fine.
But yeah, she doesn't travel.
Well, it's a good thing she's deaf.
She can't hear. Okay.
Yeah, she can't hear it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But that's cool that you're launching those there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was curious who else, Artisan, was going to be launching stuff because I feel like that would be the weekend to do it, you know.
Right. Well, let's see. We got more questions. You've got questions. Let's see. Here we go. We did that one already. Okay. Submit your questions if anyone else has some questions.
Oh, no, I think there was a new one. Angelo says, Heather, he can't wait to hug you soon with this.
Angelo gives literally the best hugs ever.
That's what we've heard.
He is like a hugger that is like from heaven or something. He just makes you feel so loved and like comforted, and he's the best.
You'll have to hug him for us because
we have already started planning things to distract us so we don't get depressed about not being with y'all at the meetup.
Fear of missing out is going to be but we are dog sitting another Cavalier, so we'll have lots of entertainment.
Yes, we have a second Cavalier coming, and he can hear, so we have to be a little more careful.
Yeah, but
I'll talk about him dying.
Partially why we did that was to be distracted so we don't feel so missing out about the meetup going
Clearly
on.
everyone will be having more fun than we will, but that's okay.
Shave Trooper. FOMO is very real.
Well, we hear you about it.
Was Rob even here tonight from Ireland? I think I saw Rob here.
Wow, really? It's late for them, I think.
I know. Right?
Is there other stuff too, because knowing that your lab background, Heather, is there other stuff that you really enjoy having that be as like your other industry job that kind of helps in this part of the world? Like now that you've officially shifted over, like is there stuff that you really feel like helps?
And you made a comment on another interview that I really liked about how you're just fastidious about running a laboratory, about keeping things clean and sanitized.
Well, even you'll use the words like, I'm going to be in the lab, or you'll call from the lab, which is cool. Like, to you, that is how you treat that space.
And I appreciate that. Like, I like that. I like that your soaps have the protective seal on them and those little things like that, you know?
Yeah, my lab background definitely does. I'm very big on, like, consistency and documentation, and, like, that part of that does come from like my background, but my two favorite things in life are literally cooking and my lab work, and this is like the best of both of them combined. Formulating products is a lot like cooking. You change one thing, it changes everything here. So, you know, they do kind of tie in together very well. And I am thankful, especially for like the microbiology like just training and experience that I have, because it makes me much more aware of like clean field and like when I'm working and like, you know, microbial contamination and preservation and like properly preserving things. I have like safety is a huge, like it's a number one for me. You know, so yeah, the lab work definitely 100% like helps so much with what I do now. Yeah.
And do you has no questions at the bottom? It popped up. There's a question, but it didn't show up. Oh, there we go. The enabled shaver. What is your favorite dessert, and would you make it as a shave set scent? We have a gourmand fan in the house. That's a great question.
I know, and the bad thing is that I don't love most gourmands. I'm not really a gourmand like scent lover, because I feel like a lot of them just smell like, it makes me think of candles, and there's never a snickerdoodle candle that smells like freaking snickerdoodles, like, right? Like they never smell like they're supposed to. They always just are disappointing. So I
think that's why we would all be thrilled to get a Zingari man like solid gourmand, because you got to do it right.
Yeah,
right?
Zeke says,
mint chocolate chip ice cream. That's the winner, right? It's got to be mint chocolate chip ice cream.
The mental
I've actually done mint chocolate chip like bath soaps before, if that makes you feel better. But yes, yeah.
You can put picture right on it, I think, right? Perfect.
Yeah.
Or Angelo needs a tacos one too, I think.
See, there you go. It'll be a whole thing.
Do one that smells like tacos. I bet Crystal would would buy some of those.
That's so funny. Do you have any questions for us, Heather? I feel like we always get, I mean, it's supposed to be a conversation. So if you want to have any
is there anything you're curious about?
Well, yeah, like, so I mean, I've watched some of your interviews, or not your interviews, but like your like reviews and your episodes and stuff. So like, what was that first like step that made you actually be like, okay, like, let's just dive into this?
Our origin story.
Yes.
Well, we both come from a performing background, so we both are very used to a production schedule. For a while, I was doing 10, 11 shows a year, and things like Hairspray, the producers, you know,
like
kind of
intense big shows.
Sarah ran her own dance company and is a professional dancer and those kind of things. She was a dancer for Disneyland for a long time, so we're just very used to a production schedule. And COVID really fucked that up.
I bet.
Our routine was gone. Like nothing to look forward to. Like a new next show, a new.
Pardon the French, y'all, but we swear on Instagram on occasion, but it's necessary. But I think it really snuck up on us. Yeah, no, that's good.
It's good.
You can swear on Instagram. It's fine. I think it really snuck up on us that we hadn't performed in years, and there were no prospects for that coming up. And, you know, Sarah has Crohn's disease and is on Humira injections, so we have to be really careful around
just like while things were still
COVID anyway.
You know,
it got really stupid, but I think we just...
There was that aspect, but then there was
something in us that got a little stir crazy of like, we're just so used to an audience. We're just so used to talking to people. We're just so used to having a show we have to get, or just so used to having a show on Friday night. You know, we're just so used to that there was just something so missing. And the other half of the answer to that for me was this show started out of pure spite because I was a cartridge razor shaver. And I was a member of a shave club. I will not mention the name of the shave club that you can join for $1, but they
fill in the blanks.
They sold these handles that kept breaking on me, and I was blowing most of my dough on the damn handles. And
because we had all these blades stocked up for the monthly subscription.
And I called and I said, I haven't gotten blades for a long time because they're stocked up, but these handles keep breaking. Can I keep? You know, can you, and, you know, is there any way I can replace these? I bought this last month. And they went, no, we don't replace them for free anymore. You'll just have to buy 2 new ones. Like, okay, fine. So I bought 2 more new ones. And the next week they changed the cartridges and they didn't fit those handles anymore. So I went, you know what? Screw those guys and everybody that looks like those guys, because they knew that they were going to change those handles on.
Exactly.
They knew that, and they sold them anyway.
Exactly.
So I need a world where the customer service is the opposite of that. So I have noticed that Henson had been putting all these ads all over my Facebook. So I was like, fine, screw it. I'll buy a Henson razor. And I bought one.
It can't be worse than this.
So we thought, okay, well, let's.
You started with the razor,
right?
Yeah. Okay.
No, and there's got to be some. There's got to be some tutorial on how to use this. Let's go on YouTube and look. What the hell is a lather hog?
Right,
and as soon as we hit and as soon as we started watching John and we started watching all these amazing YouTubers, and Mark Zarate was on there, and 30 Degrees Gentleman, a light touch, all of these things,
okay,
and we're like, wait a minute, this is not just about these razors. There is a whole world going on in here. Wait a minute. And there's an amazing community. To spare you a lot of my backstory, this seemed to be where all the nice dads were. And
you know, good guys wanted to support each other.
My mom is in hospice with Alzheimer's right now, and my dad is dealing with that. And they moved far away from without telling me. And I just found that it was somehow amazingly helpful that I immediately found DJ and Matt Fox and Angelo and these amazing dads. This is where they all were. And there was, and wait a minute, the cross-eyed Texan is talking about Katie's Bubbles Saturday morning. He's going bananas over Fruit Loops.
Like, wait, guys are hanging out. Hold on.
Wait, these somehow are my people. They're making jokes about the honeymooners. They're making jokes about wait a minute.
All the movies we watched, they would joke about.
And everybody's really nice, and we've been here for 8 months, and we still don't know what anyone's politics are, and we love that, because that is not brought into the shaving world. It's just, they had so much figured out. And at the end of the day, it was about giving love to yourself. It was about picking out the razor that you liked. It was about finding that beautiful scent that reminded you of your grandfather. And I was just like, okay, wait a minute. I know that so many people in this world love the shaving and they love the sound of the blades and all of that stuff. But there's got to be a few people like us that just want to hear about the set notes, that just want to hear about the inspiration of the soap. But there's no shows out there that are only about the soaps. So
you have to like fast forward to try and find
where the set notes were or something, and it was in a 35
yeah.
We just didn't know which one to buy first. So we're like, wait.
I really wanted to know about this one soap, but I watched 4 videos and I never found where they were. So I thought, wait a minute. Well, just saying.
It's just how it goes.
And sometimes a lot of their videos aren't about the soaps. They're more about the shaving,
or the
more
razors,
about those things. So they'll just kind of mention it quickly, whatever. But there was just something about this world of these little movie posters and the sales pages and things that we realized that I was such a fan of Johnny Carson growing up. When I had an insomnia problem when I was 5, and my mom asked the therapist, and he said, get him a black and white TV and let him watch the monologue. And so he's a theater kid. Some kids just run like that. Some kids, they're
go to bed.
And my clock has always been like that. And it was the best thing my mom could have done, because even at 5 years old, I remember standing at the ceiling for 4 hours trying to go to bed, and it was awful. So I watched with them for the first 6 months Johnny Carson at night. And I started to realize that, wait a minute, Johnny is there standing in for everybody who loves whoever his guest is that day. Johnny never has to be negative. Johnny never has to compare apples to oranges and be negative to one to satisfy people. No, he can just stand in for whoever Bruce Willis's fan base is that night and have a good time talking to him. And so we thought, what if we start a little talk show where these little guys are silent guests, and we can have them on.
That's a nice way to look at it. Yeah.
Right. And focus on them for a whole half an hour, and where they come from and where they're going, and first impressions, and even it's kind of developed into us guessing the scent notes before we look at the sales page.
It's just kind of blossomed into its own show.
See what we get, and mostly, I guess too, at the end of the day, why we really wanted to do this. For us artists, it's a really weary world right now. And I found that everywhere I went on YouTube, when it wasn't the shaving community, got scary. And it got anxiety inducing. And it got about click on the negative, click on the negative, click on the negative.
And even in your music world, it was like the only comments you saw from everyone was so mean.
The day Burt Bacharach died, I did a piano review and I played What the World Needs Now Is Love. And the first comment was, how the fuck are we supposed to learn anything about that goddamn piano from that little ditty? And I went, you know what? This is not my world.
They don't get it.
This is not my world. And so I think that us finding y'all was exactly what we needed, because you guys are the audience we want to talk to. So at the end of the day, we just want to be a voice in the background. We just want to be 2 friendly people that and that you can talk to whenever you want. You really can reach out and talk to us whenever you want.
Soap,
and just have us in the room with you to talk about shaving soap and talk about movies and talk about life and talk about our family and never talk about politics and
all
never
the scary things can go away.
About hatred, and never talk about all those things that everybody else seems to be so obsessed with, just so that we can all have a barbershop where we can hang out. And I think that's why we do as many as we do, because that's what's fun. If we did one less a week, we would be drooling over that closed box on the piano. It's just, this is the speed at which we enjoy going. And I think with 6 episodes a week, everybody can find at least 1 or 2 that they might like to watch, or
ones they haven't heard of, or just things that different outlooks or ways to find.
And when Mr. Rogers used to look at me, and when I was little, I didn't have the kind of dad that was there all the time. He raised a marvelous company, but he not really me. But when Mr. Rogers would look at the camera and say, "Wow, I'm glad you're here," I knew he was an actor in a studio in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
but
he made you believe it.
I also knew that deep down he really was glad that I was there. And when I was in college, I got a letter from him. I wrote to him, and he wrote me back an even longer letter than I had written him.
Really?
And I asked about. I know, and it was typed on his own typewriter, and the stationery had a pre-printed signature at the bottom, Fred Rogers. He crossed it out, and he re-signed his name. I was like,
oh, okay.
And I wrote him about the jazz music, and I told him that Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is what inspired me to learn jazz, because he had a jazz pianist on a piano and a clavinet the entire Tina Celeste the entire show. And the whole thing was narrated with music and jazz. So he wrote me back this beautiful letter, and he included an article that was about to be published about his musician. Like, that was, I know.
Awesome.
I know. And that was Fred Rogers. So, you know, when he looked at the camera and he said, wow, I'm glad you're here, he knew who he was talking to, and he meant it. And that's kind of what we
And he made you feel like he meant it, not just saying it. Even if he meant it, you know, sometimes you can say things that you mean, but it doesn't maybe come across that way, you know? So,
Dick Cavett did not mean it.
Yeah.
Dick Cavett did not care that you were there. But Mr. Rogers did.
Yes.
And we know most of our, that's the other benefit. We know most of our viewers now.
Yeah, it's very
cool. When I look at this little camera and I say, well, I'm so glad you're here, I'm talking to Angela, I'm talking to Bjorn, I know
all the friends that are in the chats that are live. And it's fun, like every international, like we just never thought it could turn into this. And it's just kind of taken off on its own, which has been even more fun.
We have, I think, 6 countries regularly represented in our lives now. It's like, wow, this is incredible.
Like almost to our 300th episode. It's just crazy. So, clearly we're having fun, and it's been even more fun to have all of you involved and get to know the artisans and the people that are making all the fun stuff we get to use.
So we loved discovering these, but these were just an open door to all of the people that were behind it. And those are all the people that we were meant to meet, I think.
But doing so many, like your content, you do put out a lot of content. Like, are you worried about like getting, I know you're used to that, so maybe because you're like your profession and your background and experience is different than like anyone else's that I'm aware of anyway, that's putting out like shaving content. Like, are you worried about getting that burnout? Because I mean, burnout's like everywhere. It doesn't really matter what it is. At some point, everybody gets some burnout. Are you worried like about getting like some burnout and just being like, look, guys, we can't do, you know, like we're done. We can't do anything for like 3 months.
Yeah, I think. Not to anything, but I think the first thing that helps is that y'all knowing how fast we can make a show. We have one Alexa command that turns on the entire studio, and we can go from sitting on the couch to let's film an episode in about 5 minutes.
Oh wow!
And we shoot basically live to tape. Yeah. So we talk for 20, 25, 30 minutes about the soap, and whatever we get. Yeah. And when I edit it, I basically just take out the stammers. It takes me about 20 minutes, and then I drop it into the template. That takes about another 20 minutes. So believe it or not, but to make our entire show, and then we proof, and I edit and we proof at double speed. So it's not like I have to sit and watch the entire episode at full speed. I watch it at double speed. So it only takes me 8 minutes to proof an episode. So we actually, when we were making less, we got super bored. We were like, hold on, this is not, we have not hit our stride. Like, we're just drooling over these, and we were a month ahead. We still are. We're a month ahead on episodes.
Rob said he'd be worried about running out of storage. Well, if you see the amount of hard drives.
We have so much fun doing this, you guys. We are a month ahead on our episodes, and we're kind of staying there because we don't want to do ahead of things.
Yeah.
We are just having the absolute best
and
time
it
doing
is like
this.
enjoyable for Marcus to edit and to do all those other things. Like, he does enjoy that, so it's not like we're someone else where they'd have to relearn everything.
I used to play video games 5-6 hours a week, and video games got really stupid, y'all. If you haven't been looking at what's online now, they're all pay to play. They're all trying to get you to keep buying more shit, more microtransactions inside the video games. It's not like you can just buy King's Quest and beat it. No, it's not like that anymore. And I was like, I need my computer time, because I used to build computers for fun when I was little. Like, that's how old I am.
You want that fun
So like, I just loved sitting. So this has become my new video game. It's like, this is what I do with that time.
I say it's mindless, but it does have that like therapeutic, like repetitive to it. Like, you know, there are parts of it that I think are enjoyable.
So rather than play another round of that stupid game and waste another 3 hours of my life, I thought, why don't I just play episodes instead, and we'll just make this show.
Wow, that's a long answer. That's amazing.
As of right now, I think it's still.
So you're looking at like an hour and a half.
So when we shoot, we'll do 2 or 3 episodes in a row. They take about an hour and 20 minutes to shoot 3 episodes, and then we throw those in the can and relax the rest of the day. And then for the next few days, I will pull them out and edit them. And like I said, it takes about 20 minutes to take out the stammers and another 20 minutes to drop it in the template. So beginning to end, our episodes only take about an hour and 10 minutes each to make.
Oh, wow.
So
that's crazy.
I spend about 6 hours a week, and that's the show.
But instead of putting that into brainless stuff, it's like you at least get a lovely episode at the end.
Instead of video games or just mindless YouTube scrolling or any of that, we were like, no, we need something to do with our time that means something.
Yeah.
I have a couple of little nieces that I don't get to see very often, and I don't know when I'll get to see them again. So this is kind of a little time capsule for them to kind of get to know us
Google
and
Marcus,
spend time with us a little bit and see who we were as people. And, you know, just kind of mostly, though, it's just we realized that this audience was amazing and deserving of anything that we might want to dream up and imagine for them, and that they would really appreciate it, that we wouldn't get the crappy comments, that we wouldn't get the mean derisive things that I got in the other piano music worlds, that everybody here would be supportive. And other than, I think, one rather hilarious YouTube troll, everybody has just been extraordinary.
Yeah.
Like, just amazing. Like, even today, Sean Smaldridge surprised us with a little package, and he realized we didn't have a trotter brush yet, and he sent us one.
Like, just look at so cool.
Sean.
Show up from people all the time or different things, and it's just, it really does add to that. So maybe if we have another show coming up on stage and things get crazy, maybe we'll have to, like, you know, go down to a little less of a footage.
I mean,
we'll see when life
if
takes
it
over.
stops being fun, we can always pull back and do 1 or 2 a week or something. But as long as we're having the best time of our lives doing this and meeting y'all and getting to spend time with people like you, burnout is not even on our horizon yet.
I think it's nice too that we actually enjoy having something to do together, because both of our careers are kind of separate, or like the one thing that we get to actually enjoy doing together.
I'm not a dancer, and she doesn't do Mel Brooks on stage.
Yeah,
so, you know, it's kind of hard for us to do.
We can appreciate each other's crafts, but we don't actually perform them. So.
Yeah.
And then we have one. We should do a behind the scenes episode on. So we have one computer here that does the video, and one computer here that does all the audio, and then
the editing kind of stuff.
We have this magic thing that we haven't changed in forever, and that brings them together. And
I love that.
So but it totally
and then she totally the puppy wanders over on her own, so she's in half the episodes just because she wants to be, and the rest of the time she sleeps over there. So you guys were just so amazing that we just wanted to do something, at least attempt to do something as amazing as all of you were. So
enjoying even just the scent therapy of it that we get,
and giving a little morning version of Johnny Carson, so we can all sit together on Saturday mornings in our bathrobes and
watch the lives.
And Rob can have a beer because it's 6 p.m. for him.
Yeah, because
so we have several drinkers.
Okay,
we have several drinkers with wonderful accents that watch us from across the pond. But hey, if any of from the Instagram world, if you ever want to hang out with us, Wednesdays and Saturday mornings on YouTube at 9 o'clock Pacific.
So lunch break,
9 p.m. or a.m.?
9 a.m. Pacific. Wednesdays and Saturdays. We do 3 episodes each day.
Yeah, and it's fun. We really have a lot of people. We've had at least almost 20-ish people.
Yeah, we got 20 people last couple of premieres.
Live chatting it up, and so it is kind of fun.
We're checking in with what everybody's shaving with that week and see what everybody's finds were.
Oh, nice.
Sales pages and stuff. And just touch base with it.
Yeah. Well, you guys have such a positive, uplifting, whenever it's hard to I can't imagine people leaving shitty ass comments whenever you literally are so positive and uplifting. It would be hard. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say it'd be hard because there's always somebody, but I feel like it would be hard to find something to really complain about. I mean, are they going to complain you're too optimistic or too happy? Because you guys really are just very positive.
That actually we've kind of figured out that is what they're mad at. The only kind of people we've got that have made negative comments were at dinner time on Valentine's Day. You know what I mean?
Clearly they're not enjoying it.
It's I think they were actually, I even mentioned this to somebody. I said, I think they just don't like that we're having this much fun.
They don't understand.
I think there are just some people that when they see you having a ball, they can't handle that, and they've got to do something to stop it.
But it's clearly obvious.
That is true.
That's their intention. It's just not working,
Yeah.
Oh, Sharp Shaver says, gotta love the whip pack. Oh, right, yeah. Yes, if you are a common viewer of the Barbershop Duet and you'd like to get a whiff pack where we send out a little smellable sample, we do that as well.
Right, but we have decided that our friends that hang out with us, that we will call them the whiff pack. So that's kind of fun too. We needed a name for our crew.
But yeah, if anybody else ever has internet people that are saying mean things to you, I know it does hurt because it is so cutting and it is so brainless that they do it. But I think at the end of the day, we've noticed about the 1 or 2 people that were really mean to us, I think life has kind of been a little mean to them, and it's just best to kind of hope to understand that and close the door. Close it hard,
There's
But
always
just close the
trolls, like, to some degree.
Right.
So you just have to tell them to fuck off and leave you alone, honestly, and just ignore them. So, you know, just there's always going to be haters.
You handle customer service all the time, and we have been thoroughly impressed how the wet shaving world does handle customer service. But there are always those people that you just can't make happy, and that's okay.
Right.
That's their thing.
Some people are mad that we like everything. I'm like, I get to choose my own soaps, right? I kind of choose the ones I'm like.
You know what you like, so why would you? Yeah, exactly.
Having driven a van for my family's funeral home for 25 years, you tend to develop a nose that likes most good things.
Kind of changes your filter loads of it.
To get a smell I don't like, Heather, you got to do it.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, definitely. There's almost everything smells better than a funeral home. So, you know, it's like my years in the hospital. Like everything smells better than a hospital. So,
that's the T-shirt. Welcome to Mountain View. Everything else smells better than here.
Yeah, especially in the lab, because when I worked in the lab, like literally, if it comes out of the body, it goes to the lab. So
right. Yes. Angelo used to work in the hospital. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that know. So once you've lived that life, when you go to smell batters up, it's not even that bad.
I mean, it's clearly not your favorite, but it's an iffy soap series for us.
Right.
Oh man,
I could shave with batters up with a smile
if I had to. So,
if I had to.
That's one of those examples of like
here.
people smelling cilantro.
Right. What is your favorite scent and why is it batters up from Shark
funny.
Saver? Because it's cheapest, Philip. Because you can get a tub of batters up for $3. That's
true. That's the one. Ken says batters up smells like the dead third baseman.
Smells like a dead third baseman. Yeah, I could say that. But you know what, though? Hold on. Before we get to mean and noble Otter here, I don't think you can, to continue the analogy, I don't think you can really have home runs without a few major strikeouts. And I appreciate that they put out batters up to be like, hey, we kind of want to float this out and see what the community is going to say. Because the rest of their stuff is absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah.
So I love that in an effort to make the next home run, they struck out, but they did it in grand fashion.
And the label is gorgeous. So
their labels are always amazing.
Right.
And whenever I did my podcast a couple of years ago, like we had Will on, and Will has kind of said the same thing that I have, but he is specific with it about his scents because sometimes Will gets some shit about his scents occasionally, but his thing is literally like, we are not for everyone. Every scent is not going to be for everyone. And I love that so much because it really is true. It doesn't matter what it is, but especially if you're trying to be really creative and like evoke a, not just something that smells good, because obviously everybody wants to smell good, but like not just something that smells good, but you want to evoke like that memory or like you want to trigger something like those can be very, like hit or miss, and it's all about the audience that that is getting it. So, at least like, sometimes I've said this before, and I know it's not like grammatically correct, but sometimes shit don't work. Like it just doesn't. Right. So, so, I mean, we've all had hits and misses and things like that, but whenever you put out something that is trying to evoke a certain memory or represent something, sometimes it's, it doesn't work for everybody. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can put out the world's greatest baller without being it a little bit risky. And I so appreciate the artisans who do take those risks. Like, I love that. Like you do. And I have, while we wind things up tonight, I have to be just very personally thankful to you for something. I spent 5 or 6 of the greatest years of my life working at a place called California Magic. And it's a nightclub in Martinez, California, where in a very old 150-year-old brick building where Jerry Griffin hosts the greatest magicians from all over the world, and I would do close-up magic at the tables before the big stage show, right? The things I do when I can't perform on stage. So I got to tell you, when I opened the Master, there was something about even the brick on the label
and like
looks
the mirror,
exactly the same as the back room in that magic nightclub. And when I opened this and smelled it, I didn't expect this, but it totally took me back. Now, I know you have one called The Magician, but this totally took me back to being in that little corner where we would all change clothes and put our tuxedos on, right? And I could smell just a little bit of everybody's pomade and everybody's like cologne, and everybody was just ironed and dressed to the nines. And there was just something about the master for me that whenever I smell it brings me back to one of the best times of my life. So I know that's part of what these are for. But
that
just
transportive side.
While we're meeting you officially for the first time, I have to just say a personal thank you, because it was those nights that we just got to go out and make everybody happy. And man, this just really takes me back. So I love putting on the splash. I love putting this on a cold day, because it just warms me.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Thank you for giving me this. And, you know, sometimes we think of these as like our cabinet is a little art museum, and we get to go like explore each little painting again and, you know, smell. Do we have any last questions?
Yeah, there is one other question from Sharp Shaver, which is kind of a fun question. Yeah. Do you have a favorite soap from a different artisan, like a scent that you didn't put out, or one that means something to you?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and we promised to ask every artisten this.
Yeah,
so there you
we'll
go.
make all the artisans
we will ask everybody this.
I mean, I have no problem. I have, you know, put out my. I'm terrible at taking pictures, so I don't actually post shave of the days very often. I occasionally will throw one up in my stories, but I'm not as good at photography as everybody. Everybody in the audience is.
Clearly, you're good at the other. So that's good.
Photography is like literally not my thing, but I love 42 by Barrister Amanda. So I love 42 and Vespers. Those are two of my favorite scents. I also love Gates of the Arctic from Talbot. And there's one I'm missing. I can't think of what it is right now. Those are definitely like some of my favorites. I love 42. Yeah, 42 is amazing. Like, and it's based on, I think it's based off of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I don't know that I've ever read.
Knowing Will, that doesn't surprise me. Oh, number 42, that's life and everything, right? You can put in the comments.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a big moment in the book, I think, is they figure out the meaning to life is 42.
Yeah, I love it. So that's one of my favorite scents. It's very like clean, effervescent-y, and like citrusy, and like a touch floral. Like, I don't know. I love it. It's really nice. It's a great year-round scent. But I love his Vespers. And if you've ever heard the Will Smith song, like, I wished I would have done that, that's kind of like, I'm like, I wish Vespers was mine, because I love the base of Vespers. Like, I love the Mr. Sax he has. His version of Mr. Sax is awesome. And Vespers is just great. So those are two of my favorites for sure.
Keep like inspiring you as an artist too, to like see what's out there. You know, like even as dancers, like I am like watching other dancers too. So it's kind of nice to keep that creative side fueled, not just by your own stuff, but like reminding you like that's why you got into this.
And you know what? I love that, because when we first started and we talked to Sean and McDuff and we talked to Will and we talked to Zach and Melody, all of them said, by the way, make sure you get this from the other guy.
Like everyone shares each other's stuff too, which is very nice.
In fact, I think Zach mentioned the master. I think Zach at Moon.
Yeah, and actually Astoria from them is one of my favorites as well. I love Aquatics, but Astoria is really nice. That is definitely among my top 5 for sure.
Right. So we love that even the artisans are supportive of each other and smell each other's soaps. And Melody and Moon Soaps even call us and go, I haven't bought that yet. Can you send me a sample? I need to smell it. Yeah, we will.
Yeah, that is
very cool that all you artisans understand the world that you're in your own. You all have a place in it, which is super cool.
Yeah,
we're getting to the point where we can tell the artisan on the first smell. We've never smelled the soap before, but we can tell that that's a Zingari. We can tell that's a holy.
Yeah,
we can tell that's a.
Well, I feel like perfumers are the same way. Like they all kind of have like a signature. You know what I mean? So
when you hear a Billy Joel song, you know it's a Billy Joel song.
Right, exactly. Like everybody kind of has, even if they're different, like everybody kind of has a little bit of a signature. So I definitely see that. And it's funny that you say that about the artisans, because I do talk to several of them, but like at Maggards. So last year was the first year I've been able to do a Maggards meet, because the first year I was supposed to go to a Maggards meet as far as an artisan was in 20, and 20 went to hell in a handbasket really quick. So last year was the first one they did again, and it was amazing because I've talked to almost all the artisans that were there, but it was so awesome to get to meet in person. And even in person, for the most part, you can feel like everybody is still like there's still that camaraderie, even though like obviously you're like competition, but like not.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like yeah. So it is really nice. And I've even done I've done a collaboration like with Will even. So it is nice to be able to have like, peers in your same, because we are in a very niche industry, especially like from an artisan standpoint. Mm-hmm. So it is nice that you have like some support, like typically that you can ask. And I mean, there's like boundaries, obviously it's business. So there's a little bit of boundaries. But
when Queen and David Bowie got together, we got under pressure.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, so it is really nice, but it was really cool to even meet like in person, and not just with customers and people that I've become friends with, like just doing lives and seeing, same like you said, you see the same people and you talk to them the same way, and but whenever you talk to artisans and other makers and stuff so much, and then you finally get to meet in person, it's really cool, and not feel like there's like instant animosity kind of like between it, because most competition
that's not the case. Yeah, exactly. Like you literally are the only ones that can relate to each other in ways that only you can. Like you all have been through the different roller coaster of being the artisan, so you can relate on that level.
Yep. Oh, there's John from Grizzly Bay talking about.
Well, all of the cool kids are here tonight. It's amazing.
I know most of them stayed. It's very nice.
Yeah,
I forget it's later for you.
Thank you all for hanging out. We will dismiss you all. It's getting kind of late on the East Coast. Heather, thank you so much for being our first artisan in our conversation series.
And thanks for having me.
Way better than I could have ever hoped. This was awesome. Thank you.
Well, I am excited. I was happy to be here. If you guys don't mind, like if you want to do a giveaway, we can do like a choice of any of the new releases. So I'm going to have the Clay Bar come out next weekend, the Brewer and the Magician. So they can pick between one of those.
Wow.
Yeah, let's do a giveaway.
Okay.
I'll let you guys pick.
I think I can see mostly everyone.
Yeah, we've got it, because there's only 25 here and they don't cut you off till you get to 30.
Yeah,
so everybody's here. Heather, would you like to choose a number between 1 and 26?
We can see who our
1 and 26. Let's do 13.
13, lucky number 13.
Yeah.
1.
I got married on Friday the 13th.
7, 8, 9.
So it's a lucky
10,
number.
11, 12.
Hey, Brian Moore!
Brian Moore! Congratulations, buddy!
You are our 13th one on our list. So.
All right, reach out to Heather at Zingari Man. She'll hook you up.
Did you say?
Oh, that's very generous. Thank you, Heather.
Chunk 350 is his name on here. But Brian Moore.
He is one of our beloved Barbershop members. He's there all the time. Brian Moore is his name.
Yes.
Brian Moore. Okay.
Oh, he said awesome.
There he is.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, message me. Let me know if you want the Brewer, the Magician, or the Clay Bar, which is the face cleanser. This is $20, so I know it sounds like it would be a lot cheaper. It's like $5 cheaper than soap. But, let me know.
That bar lasts forever, so like we
does.
Get a good solid price for that. It's not just a normal bar.
Yeah.
8 months, John said.
Yeah, I think that would be
they do last for a long time. But let me know what you want, and also your shipping details so that we can get that out to you. If you get a soap though, like I'm waiting on labels, so it won't ship till later in the week, but I will get it out to you this week.
Sweet. Oh, cool.
That was
Thanks,
very
Heather.
generous. Thank you so much. That was so kind of you. Brian, report back.
Congrats.
Let us know what you get, buddy.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks you guys so much for having us.
Yeah, have fun next weekend at the meetup. And
I know, and
say
everybody,
hi to everyone for us.
Be safe and have fun at the meetup, everybody. Give Angela some tacos for us.
Yes.
Give Angela.
Don't forget Shave Migos tomorrow night. And there's other fun things. I think
Shave
BBS
Migos
Live
tomorrow
this
night.
week too. So lots of Instagram fun for the rest of the week ahead.
A lot of reconnaissance for the meetup, I think, will be going on Shave Migos tomorrow.
Yeah. A lot of planning.
Thank you again. Please say hi to Mike for us.
Yeah.
Will do.
And we're so honored to have had you as our first artisan. Thank you so much.
We'll keep
Thanks,
our
guys.
conversation.
It was fun.
I love it. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for being here. Take care.